My name is Jen, and I am on a journey in order to break free from the destructive patterns of disordered eating and in order to embrace a nourishing lifestyle. My roadmap can be described using an acronym of the word Nourisher. So I'm doing daily video blog posts in order to encourage you, equip you, and keep you up to date on my progress. If this content is helpful or encouraging to you, please consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and sharing with others. It is my deep desire that these videos would help to ignite nourishing transformations in us all. Hi everybody, welcome back. My name is Jen and thank you so much for joining me for day 11 of my Nourisher Check-ins. Yes, day 11. I have been totally screwing up the days, like the numbers. I'm so sorry, but I finally pulled out a calendar and figured out when I did my first Nourisher Check-in, when I drew that bright line and started to really purposefully pursue this nourishing lifestyle, and it was 11. I'm on day 11, so thank you for journeying with me thus far. I want to dive right in. As I was reflecting on the day, this is just such a good exercise. I hope that this has been really valuable and important for you as well. But as I reflected on this, I had to pull out a feelings chart again today to figure out what is it? What was I feeling throughout the day today in order to notice my emotions? And as I've mentioned before, so often I need to turn to my body to find out what I'm feeling because sometimes I'm just not aware of what emotions it is that I'm feeling. And so I kind of just sit and try to do a body scan. Is there any, pain or, haziness in my head, tightness in my jaw, what's going on in my chest, any knots in my stomach, or anything else that could be indicating a certain emotional stance or experience. So what I noticed when I did that today was some shallow breathing, some tightness in my chest that is typical of me when I'm feeling a little bit anxious, which rang true to maybe how I was feeling. I was kind of primary in charge of the kids for most of the day today, which can always leave me feeling a little bit tighter, a little bit more on edge. But I noticed if I had to pick a word for the day, probably the word for me would have been invisible. I just kind of felt, emotionally invisible to other people. And that probably ties into the opening up to others, and that I was, primarily with the kids today and didn't really have another person who has skilled capacity to see me or notice me or be curious about me. And yet, even as I was reflecting on that today, I reflected and noticed some really sweet moments, particularly with one of my daughters, where she really just had some beautiful expressions of care and love for me today. So I think that invisible or lonely are states that I'm often in, feelings I often feel, and I'm noticing that even within my own immediate family, that's starting to change, starting to be kind of revolutionized as we embrace this, whether the kids know it or not, embrace this new nourishing lifestyle together. So that was really, really, really encouraging today. Let me also blend, seeing as I blended kind of N and O together, let me blend U and R together as well, understanding the cycle and rewiring my brain. So this is what I've been thinking about in regards to this today. So let me tell the story and see if it makes sense to you, if you can follow my train of thought. So my one daughter today, she's really having a hard time learning how to do hard things. This is all part of growing up, where we learn how to do the things that we don't want to do because they're necessary or need to be done, or in order to benefit the community. Often I'm telling them, hey, we work first and then we can play. And on the weekends, they are responsible. My girls, I have 3 girls, and they're responsible for getting the family laundry, their laundry basically, folded and put back into their drawers. So my one daughter just has such a hard time with this, with being tasked with this. And today she was just melting down. And I was pulling out everything that I've ever read in any of these great, Dr. Laura Markham or, Dr. Neufeld or whoever. I was just pulling out anything that I had ever read or heard in terms of parenting, Jennifer Colari. all of these people, and I'm, thinking about how to mirror her emotions back to her, how to, mirror on my face what she's feeling, how to attune to her, how to whatever. And she was having none of it. She was just screaming. And so I'm trying to, put boundaries up. Please speak respectfully to mommy, blah, blah, blah. And in the moment, it was just like this, felt like this massive fail. And she did eventually get the laundry done, but it was not a pleasant experience for any of us. So then she goes outside, and I did what I, am, ashamed to say that I do so rarely, but I went out and I played with her. And I kind of walked up to her, and she was riding her bike, so I grabbed my bike, and I said, well, what you playing? And she said, I'm playing house. And I said, well, who are you? And she said, I'm the fun, kind mummy. And I said, oh. And she said, yes, I do all of the laundry, and I help all of my children, and I give them as much candy as they want. And it just dawned on me and clicked with me of this idea of how incredibly important play is for helping us build strong foundations, build emotional capacity, process things that we're experiencing and going through, and even to kind of it's a good venue to help put deposits into kids' hearts. And I've read all this stuff before. I remember Dr. Gordon Neufeld had this great quote where it said that true play takes care of our emotions, opens the door to our potential, and is nature's way of taking care of us. And as I was watching this unfold in front of me, I realized, here I'm trying to make the heat of the moment, the time when I'm connecting with her, or I'm changing her mind about how she should be willing to do this hard thing, or how I believe that she can do it. She has a capacity to do it, blah, 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 blah. And that was just totally not the time at all to be at least productively anchoring those truths in her heart. But play was such a great, so I let her be the wonderful good mommy. And I praised her, Mommy, thank you so much. Mommy, you did all these things for me. Thank you so much. And just played with her. And it was just so interesting to watch how that interaction went down. But it made me think about the cycle. This, for me, what is a binge eating cycle, or perhaps for some of you, and eating just a disordered eating cycle, and how when we're right in the middle of it, in the thick of it, so often those are not the times that, or it's very difficult in those times to build foundations or to build capacity that help us get off of the cycle, or that help us not get back onto it. And yet how important things like play are in nourishing our ability to be able to handle the intensity of getting off of the cycle, or staying off of the cycle. So that was really, really helpful. I'm horrible at play. Like I'm really not good at it, and I need to nurture that more. And so those are some reflections today. I didn't notice any major troubling thoughts in regards to the cycle today. I feel like I was able to stay off of it, but definitely heightened my awareness of the fact that we don't always. We need other venues in order to process some of our bigger, heavier emotions or circumstances that we're dealing with. So it was good, a very good reminder today. Good to be rebuilding my brain through play today. Insulin friendly eating went very well today. I noticed some really big carb cravings. Likely, if I had to guess, it would be because of some of those feelings of being invisible, or not being delighted in by anyone in particular. And with those cravings, I tended, from a food perspective, to combat those cravings with fats, with healthy fats. So I had, for supper, had a taco salad with avocado and this homemade creamy ranch dressing that I make, and just trying to really load on healthy fats to help deal with some of those nasty carb cravings. So that went really well. Hydration was fine, not stellar today by any means, but had a bottle with me. at all times, which was great. And exercise was another really interesting one that I want to kind of camp out on for a minute. Because exercise today for me was a walk, as per usual, together with the girls, but it was in more of a city, or like it was in an urban setting, as opposed to we live in a country setting, and I typically walk in nature. And it felt so different. And it felt so much less restorative. And I felt way more fatigued after than I normally do. I normally actually, a walk kind of invigorates me. And so I was really curious about this. Like, was that just today, or was that just because, I was kind of watching out for the kids? It was a bit of a busy environment and wanted to keep track of them. Or is this actually a thing? And I have found study after study after study that has talked about the value of spending time in nature and the value of particularly seeing green, both for, increased cognition, but as well as for emotional health. There was this one fascinating study, and I'll put it down in the resources below, or an article that mentions it, that was done in Denmark, like 900,000 people, longitudinal study, super interesting. And they were looking at the exposure that people had to green spaces in their life between birth and the age of 10. And they actually found that the people who had the lowest exposure to or experience of green spaces in those years were 55% more susceptible for things like depression, schizophrenia, eating disorders, substance abuse, all sorts of things, mood disorders. And I was just floored at the impact that seeing green and being in nature can have. I even found a whole bunch of sites that have nature therapy. And this was super interesting and intriguing for me, to think that not only is it, important for us to be getting exercise, but that if we can at all possible do that in nature where we're actually seeing green and trees and vegetation, or some articles talked about water, lakes, streams, rivers, that kind of thing, how beneficial that is for us in terms of our emotional needs and our mental health as well. So that was fascinating. So I hope not to be doing my walks in that urban place anymore if I can help it. And really, really appreciate the fact that I have, just right out my door, have nature's playground available to me. So hope that, check that out. See if that resonates with you, whether or not you can really double the impact of your exercise by doing it in nature if possible. And for reward, I think that for me, the big reward being with the kids today is just that idea of the next generation. I would love to be as energetic and active and present and available today, or in the future for the next generation as I am to the present generation. And I know that I just can't do that unless I am really nurturing my mind, my body, my soul, my heart. The whole package needs to be nurtured in order to have that longevity. So I would love to hear your Nourisher Check-In if you'd like to share it, or any thoughts you have on some of these interesting topics today about play, or about nature and its impact on mental health. Would love to hear your thoughts on those things. Please feel free to put them below. And I look forward to continuing this journey with you and continuing the dialogue with you again tomorrow. Have a great night, day, or afternoon, wherever you're at. Bye, everybody.